It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Michael Murray, President and CEO of the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations. Dr. Murray oversees the development and execution of the strategic objectives of the foundations as they seek to promote the flourishing of a diverse and inclusive America. Campus Compact is truly grateful to Michael and the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations for their partnership and support. Dr. Murray.
Hey, I had to get mine. Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be with you all here. And if you wanted to know where the tagline "Hope Found Here" comes from, I think you just heard it. Right? This is celebrating the successes of Renee and these students. I think is really central to what Campus Compact is all about. It's part of the reason I come here for this kind of inspiration. I hope you found inspiration as well this morning. Since its founding in 1952, the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations has supported colleges and universities that center four-year liberal arts education with the primary aim of improving learning outcomes for all students. We're currently partnering with Campus Compact as part of our larger effort to promote civil discourse and constructive dialogue on campuses across the U.S., and I have enjoyed interacting with so many of you over these last couple of days who are leading these efforts on campuses. Our investments in this area began in 2019, shortly after I joined AVDF. At that time, we were seeing what we thought was a potentially explosive set of indicators. Specifically, Gen Z college students were spending less time with each other in person, were experiencing increasing levels of affective polarization, were showing lower levels of intellectual humility, and we're internalizing increasingly illiberal attitudes when it comes to engaging with alternative viewpoints and the people that hold them. So to us, those indicators signaled something that was important, that students needed more time to build and practice skills on how to engage with each other across lines of difference. So we began to fund these efforts to promote just that, skill building and practicing civil discourse. So fast forward to the end of that year, 2019, I was at one of these meetings I attend too often with executives from other foundations supporting work in higher ed. And we go around the table, introduce ourselves, and we explain what we're working on. So it got to me, introduced myself, and I said one of the things we're working on is promoting civil discourse skills for students on campus. And at that point, one of the meeting attendees leaned over to the person next to him and said, with an eye roll, very loudly, so everyone could hear, "Huh, that's a luxury good." So we all heard it, and so I decided to react to it. And I said, you might be right, but given some of the troubling signs we've seen, those things I just mentioned a minute ago, we think that when the next Vietnam War issue emerges on campus, whenever and wherever that might be, the impact could be seismic. His response was, "We'll see," with another eye roll. I'm not an "I told you so" kind of person, but then there was a worldwide epidemic, and then there was the George Floyd murder, and then there was the 2020 election, and then there was 10/7, and then there was, and then there was, and then there was. But the absence of these skills hasn't only impacted campuses, it's impacting the world of work in ways that has left employers deeply frustrated. The Society for Human Resource Management, or SHRM as they're known, is a 350,000 member organization with members who oversee hiring and workforce development at companies around the world. And they've recently launched an initiative they call Civility in the Workplace to address what they describe as incivility among employees. According to SHRM's data, which they gather extensive data. I don't know what I think of these numbers, but according to their data, there are 8.7 million acts of incivility in the workplace in the U.S. every hour, costing U.S. businesses $2 billion per day in productivity. SHRM describes incivility in the workplace as, quote, "the greatest threat to workplace well-being for U.S. businesses and employees today." And these employers are now looking to higher ed to add durable skills of civil discourse as credentialed learning outcomes that they can use as an indicator of workforce readiness. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that there are now large-scale efforts underway across many campuses to address this need. And in a recent gathering of funders and institutional leaders, we had an extensive conversation about how well we're doing in implementing and scaling this work. And while there are many success stories to celebrate, including the work of many of you who are sitting in this room, there are also widespread recognition that civil discourse programming on campus suffers from three weaknesses. So the first is that programming is often too passive. Students don't learn these skills by watching disagreeing experts get up on stage and talk about some contentious topic, although that is the most common intervention that institutions use to develop this work. Second, the dosage of civil discourse skill building is too low. One-shot interventions at orientation, one RA-led discussion in the dorm, one module in one course doesn't build a durable skill. And finally, civil discourse skill building is too easy to avoid. Making such programming opt-in means that it reaches all the students who don't need it and none of those who do. So what do we need to do? We need to develop true campus-wide action plans that build skills inside and outside the classroom in ways that are unavoidable. We need to provide professional development for faculty who want to help students develop these skills and just don't know how. And we need systemic efforts to strengthen norms of civility on campus and to weaken norms of incivility. We see this work as part of a broader effort to promote civic readiness and to strengthen democracy more broadly. And this is the larger theme that we're addressing in this session this morning on advancing higher education's democratic promise.